COVID-19, and in turn,
Mr. Ngu, are you still there? Mr. Ngu, are you still there? Okay, I think we have lost Mr. Ngu. So let's just, whilst he's sorting out his network, let me hand over to Ms. S. Maposa. Over to you, ma'am.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sansiwa Maposa, a PhD candidate at University of Fort Hare in the Faculty of Science and Agriculture in the Department of Botany. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for availing yourself for us to then allow the diffusion of these ideas, whereby we are going to discuss as far as COVID-19 is concerned. I'm Vambe William Tishaona, and a PhD holder, and I'll be the chair for this session. And so due to our time, we are going to allocate one another 15 minutes. So I'm going to first present my 15 minutes, then we give to Mr. Pingwe 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Then we also give to Ms. Esma Posa 10 minutes. Then we also then have maybe an open discussion whereby there are questions and answer segment. Then based on that, we then make the way forward, or we can then take the way to home, which will be our take home message. So based on that, allow me to share with you my my presentation. Okay. When I was asked to, or when I was looking for the topic to discuss as far as this is concerned, the issue of COVID-19 and the 5G, I didn't know how to title my presentation, so I ended up saying "Be the judge," and in the end, I want you to then give me everyone. I'm going to then ask everyone to give me the verdict after I'm done presenting. So please be the judge. And I know you know how the judge Zondo and that other judge do their job. At the end, they give their final words, and I want you to be the jury, so whereby you are going to give me the word at the end. So I'm not going to say anything or a conclusion, but I also want you to help me conclude this presentation after I will be after presenting the my presentation. So when I was growing up, I have a very good SRB, strong raw background, and my grandfather used to tell me that you don't think inside or outside the box, but rather break the box and you start to think. And in this COVID-19 pandemic and the 5G, I saw that statement. I saw that statement very, very important to me, and also that we need to break, not to think inside the box or outside the box, but rather we should break the box and we start to think, so that it allows us to then be able to distinguish between COVID-19 and the 5G pandemic. As you can see, like what I said, I always, from my SRB, those people from my rural areas, you will notice those are my grandmothers and my grandfathers. In all, those are grandmothers and grandfathers. And most of you you can relate if you have the same background with me, right? Most of us we were they were our parents by default, but there is a problem that these people, in most cases, people they end up blaming them for some other things. You will notice that in most cases, when you become very old in the rural areas, they are faced with another challenge. Their age, because they are old. In most cases, if there is something that happens or something that is going on, people they end up, instead of taking a responsibility, they end up blaming those grandmothers and grandfathers for spearheading the things that they call witchcraft. Even though they are dancing in water, people they always blame them for raising the dust, right? So in most cases, why did I start by giving you that? In most cases, those grandmothers and grandfathers, they are pinpointed. If anything happens in the community, they are pinpointed. Even though they are dancing in water, everyone blames them of raising the dust. Likewise, you will notice that those are the ones that we are referring to as conspiracy theories, right? Whereby we are saying a conspiracy theory is an attempt to explain harmful or tragic events as the results of the actions of a small or a powerful group or organization, and such explanations reject the accepted narrative surrounding those events. In most cases, those people, in most cases, I saw some disturbing videos when they were banned and people were doing a lot of things accusing them, but they don't have evidence. In most cases, some of those, our grandmothers, they are even known to be Christians, and they are even known to help a lot of people, right? So the reason why I wanted to, I gave that example is because I want us to then look at, because those conspiracy theory, they are very dangerous as we go forward, even for our society, even in the development of our society. So let's look, maybe we can, let's say, where are we coming from? Where are we going as far as technology, is concerned, as far as 5G is concerned, and as far as the COVID-19 is concerned. I always want to give maybe a background whereby this technology, we are coming from somewhere and we are going from somewhere, we are going somewhere. And you notice, let me just give an example of Mercedes-Benz. Each and every year, they are improving. Each and every year, they are changing a lot of things, be it speed, be it in terms of being the car to be safe, and other things that they are modifying. And everyone wants to move with a better car. So you can see the first picture. That was Mercedes-Benz in the 1900 years. Then, as we go towards due to the advancement of technology and new things coming on, you will notice that we now have even that very good Mercedes-Benz. Let's also talk about in terms of cell phones. Many times they were privileged to see the first one that is on this side. Then others, they managed to see these ones. And I think most of our generation, we ended up seeing most of these ones, right? And if I'm made to ask, maybe you can just highlight by texting on the chat, which of those phones did you use? And what was the reason why you ended up leaving the one that you were using 10 years ago or 5 years ago when you had your first phone? Now that you are now using another phone, what was the reason? Just text on the chat box. I just want to see I just want to see something, the reasons and your first phone. So whilst you're texting, I want almost everyone to text and give me an answer there, right? Your first phone, mine was a 3300, and I ended up advancing to a Motorola. And at the end, I ended up advancing to a Huawei due to certain reasons. Those are the reasons. I also want you to share with me some of those reasons. But the reason or the goal at the end, they wanted to communicate, right? From the first phone to the phone that we do have now, we wanted to communicate. But there were other things that we were looking at. You will notice that even the quality in terms of the phone call quality that we used to have before, when we were using those maybe wired phones, the quality that we now have when we are now using the new phones, you will notice that there is a lot of things we didn't have even WhatsApp during those days when we were using phones. So there was a reason for us or for them to do so, or for them to improve in terms of to advance in technology. And you will notice this day and age, even due to COVID-19, like as it is, we were forced in most cases to then adopt the online learning. Then it means technology is now at the center. So there is need, or there was need, or there still need to improve technology for us to be able to do those online lessons. You will notice, for you to be able to connect to the internet, you need a modem. You also need a line for you to then use the phone. You also need all those other routers and modems for you to then have internet connectivity, for you to be able to talk to one another. So it comes back again now to my issue. Why I'm noticing the answers that you're giving there. Why you ended up changing from the first phone that you were using to the next phone, to the next phone. You will notice that the first phones that we're using, they were in terms of I don't know some of you, but some of us, we managed to have an encounter in the maybe some of those generations. But the first generation, the introduction of the first generation, which was referred to as 1G, it was only able to only make a phone call. As you can see from that diagram, it was only able to make a phone call. Yeah, there were no other services that you were able to do with that. So in other words, we are saying the first generation was presented in around 1982, and it was utilized for voice benefits only, and depended on the technology called Advanced Mobile Phone Systems. The MPS framework was frequently modulated and utilized the frequency division using multiple different things. But you will notice that with the 1G, there were now other problems whereby people were not able to, in terms of the quality of the signals that they were getting. So due to that, and also the communication was a little bit difficult. Then due to the advancement of technology, they ended up advancing to 2G technology. And the 2G, they ended up adding, what do you call them, the text. It was no longer the issue of calling only, but they were also now adding the text. And we are saying the second generation was based on a GSM with the frequency band at 900 MHz. I'll try to explain in short when we, on the next slide, what do we mean with that, which brought digital communication. But you notice this meant that the range of these relatively higher signals is reduced, and hence the number of transverses required to give full city coverage increased, which then results to, when you now compare it to 1G. So 2G becomes better. It allows you to make a phone call, and at the same time, it allowed you to also send a message. The 3G technology, it was now including both the phone call, also the sending the message, and at the center of that, there was also internet connectivity. That's where we ended up having internet connectivity, whereby we're now able to use even internet to do a lot of things, even on our gadgets. And that's where, due to that, we are saying the third generation, the 3G, offer high-speed data, and it was enhanced to permit data up to 14 Mbps, and additionally utilizing the packet switching, whereby it allows to send packets, and it utilizes wideband wireless networks with which lucidity is enhanced. But you will notice our generation, because we are a generation that likes, in quotes, that likes things, we wanted also to be able to share videos. We also wanted to share a lot of information at first. And 3G was not able to do that, was not allowing us to do that. And we ended up having another advancement whereby we ended up having the 4G, as you can see from that diagram. And the advantages that came with the fourth industrial revolution was that it offers a downloading speed of 100 mega Mbps. Then it also 4G gives features as 3G and extra services like multimedia newspapers. You are now able to watch even television programs. Even these days, you are now even able to watch these days, because we also love to watch television with greater cleanness and send data subsequently speedier. In terms of speed, it was now a little bit faster. And obviously, then there comes the problem whereby everyone is now talking about the 5G, whereby we are now saying we want the technology. We want to allow gadgets to communicate to one another, the Internet of Things. We also want high speed in terms of when we are even streaming our movies, or when we're shooting a video using our phones, even the high definition 3D videos. We want quality in terms of sending, and at the same time also offering those phone calls. That's where you notice that between the 4G and the 5G, even WhatsApp and those other technologies that we are now using, they were also supported with the 4G, but the 5G now is there to allow in terms of connection of devices, where we are saying Internet of Things, where devices can be able to communicate to one another. We'll look at some of the next presenter will look at some of the benefits of why do we need the 5G and the Internet of Things. So as you can see, the whole essence when we're talking about these different generations, they wanted to improve the communication. So they are just signals that are being sent from point A to point B, as explained from that, as shown in those diagrams. And as you can see from that diagram, different phones were now also being developed to support those new technologies, to support in terms of speed, in terms of memory, in terms of a lot of things. And obviously, there are a lot of questions that are now rising as far as 5G is concerned. But as you can see from the first, second, third, and the fourth, it's a matter of improving in terms of speed, in terms of downloading speed, in terms of when you are doing anything on the internet, by just a click of a button, things that are supposed to happen. So that's the whole essence when we are talking about the technological side of this 5G. Just a brief, let me just share with you some of what is 5G now. In short, let me just share with you this small video. Yes, as you can see from that diagram, in other words, they are just trying to say 5G allows us to be able to connect to everything, to anything, and be able to have a lot of information that we can use for our benefit. And as you can see, 5G is just a matter of the waves that are there that allows that communication. And from the diagram, you will notice that even when you're watching a movie on your Netflix, you don't want a movie that sometimes end up freezing here and there. So 5G is trying to address that and a lot. And as you can see, based on the evidence that is shown there, there is nothing that can be connected to the human cells or anything to disturb the DNA of a human being as far as 5G is concerned. And as you can see, because of 5G or because of those advancements in technology, even in education sector, we are now even benefiting from this technology. You can imagine what we were doing all these other years when we were not using technology, but one or the other, the COVID then allows it acted as a catalyst for us to be then to recognize how important is technology. And 5G is one technology that is also important that will then help us as far as that the learning and as far as communication is concerned. And yes, thanks to 4G, 4G and whereby now we are using all those other technologies even in learning. So you can see from the advantages that I can even ask, what are the advantages of doing the online? What are the advantages that you're now getting even when you're using your WhatsApp? What are the advantages that you're getting as far as using those other technologies to communicate, to call, to do videos, even to do live streaming? You will notice that all those advantages, they are coming there to help or to make our life easier. So likewise, that's the whole essence whereby they want to improve from 4G to 5G. So as you can see, all those technologies, there's no disease that is associated with 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and even 5G. And it was proven that it does not use any other wavelengths that then affect a human being. And obviously, you and me, we can agree that technology makes us happy. I don't know if you are not happy, but now because we are even talking where you are and I am where I am, it means technology is connecting us globally. Wherever we are, we can be able to see one another, to communicate with one another. And that's the goal of also 5G, to make even life easier. So in other words, someone can then ask, what is making us sad as far as this is concerned? You will notice that even animals, they are also even concerned about things that are making the world sad, because even if when a human being is also sad, it means even animals, we can also they can also be sad. So we can look, you will notice at the end, the problem that we do have is COVID-19. And a lot of people then ask, what is COVID-19? Is it different from 5G? We will notice that COVID-19 is one, in other words, the other people would find it as it is one of the viruses that exist in the world. And if I'm to ask, even before these technologies, almost everyone was getting flu, isn't it? Right? Almost everyone was getting flu before any of those technologies. And likewise, you will notice that even today, everyone is getting flu. And COVID-19 is one such an example of a flu. And obviously, according to different definitions or according to different researchers, they say COVID-19 is regarded as severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, In other words, its scientific name is SARS-CoV-2, and they link it to another SARS-CoV-1 that did happened in around 2000, in 2002 again in China, right? And if you are to notice, in 2002 we didn't have COVID-19, we didn't have 5G. So those people who then say 5G is causing COVID-19 or is causing a virus, even those, you will notice, even those countries that do not have even 5G as yet, most parts, even in South Africa, we don't have even 5G. In other rural areas, we are still even struggling with getting the 4G. So, but in those areas, people are getting 5G. So they are getting COVID. So you will notice that there is no link between the virus and COVID-19. There's no link between 5G and COVID-19 because these flus have been always been there. But this one, they say it's one of the it's a special kind of flu that can also can be transmitted from human to human, and also it is also believed by researchers that it can be transferred from human to animals. That's what the reason. Also, you can see even the animals, they are also concerned, even the researchers, because each and every one of us is a danger. So there's nothing to do with technology there. It's just a virus that then, that's why it is called a severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. And this one is named 2. And someone can then ask, why is it 19? Why is it said COVID-19, not COVID-18? That 19, it only represents the year where it was discovered in 2019, right? So that's the reason why it is called COVID-19. Obviously, what caused COVID-19? Like what I said earlier on, COVID-19 is just caused by a virus. And as you can see from my earlier explanation, there's no link between a virus and those microwave or other signals that we're talking about in terms of technology. Then how is COVID-19 spread? Obviously, that's another part whereby even those who were destroying or were burning those towers, they didn't have an understanding. But maybe in just a minute, let's just show one another. We've been talking about this, but in summary, let's just show one another how COVID-19 is spread, and you can see even the difference between COVID-19 and even the technologies that we are talking about. Just in a minute, let me just play this video and you see how COVID-19 is spread. Okay. Sorry. I'm seeing that I'm being informed that I did not share the audio. You're not hearing something. Okay. Okay. Let me just see something here. Okay. I hope you are now hearing my video. Okay. Sorry, I'm hearing that my audio is not you are not getting my video audio. But in other words, we are just saying obviously each and every time we are using technology to um, to communicate, but at the same time, you will notice that COVID-19 is shared or is spread based on the things that you have seen over the past 2 years. And in conclusion, due to time, in conclusion, maybe I just want to ask you a few questions. If you are to put your phone under a mask, will it not ring? Obviously, your phone will ring, right? But when you wear a mask, isn't it COVID-19 will not be spread? Yes, it will not be spread. So based on these two, is it now correct to say 5G causes COVID-19? Because if 5G or these technologies are able to get through your mask, it means even when you're wearing your mask, you are going to get COVID-19 if 5G was causing if 5G was causing COVID-19, but it's not always it's not the case as far as that is concerned. So maybe my last conclusion statement, I want to hear from you. Is it true that COVID-19 is caused by 5G, or it is just a myth and a conspiracy theory? I just pose to you based on the things that I've presented. I want you to be the judge, and I also want you to be to tell me based on the things that we have shared. COVID-19, in short, we are saying the take-home message from the whole presentation is a biological pathogen transmitted through physical contact, while 5G is a radio wave radiation, which is non-ionizing and does not spread or transmit the novel coronavirus. For further research or for further, you can read those two articles. They manage to explain even in detail some of the differences or some of the myths that are there. Obviously, I rest my case. I want you to then maybe tell me what you can judge from that presentation. Is COVID-19 or is 5G the cause of COVID-19, or it's not? Because even in other nations where there is no 5G, COVID-19 is also even hitting hard. I thank you. Okay. Any questions? Yes. Prince, you were saying you started using Nokia 3310 in advance, and okay. Any other questions based on the presentation? Any other areas that you might need maybe clarifications? Okay, there are two things involved when people don't ask a question. Either they are agreeing with me or they are disagreeing with me completely. So I don't know which one, but obviously, maybe after the other presenters have presented, we can then give one another. So for the meantime, just digest what we've discussed, and then you can give me the answer at the end of the after other panelists have presented. Yes, I think there is Anati. Anati, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to know what can be done in order to make people who think like 5G causes, 5G is like causes the 19. So what can be done in order to know that 5G is not the cause of COVID-19? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anati. I think one of the, like what I said, misinformation is one of the pandemics that is dangerous. So you and me and others who are aware and who knows the truth now we should tell our grandmothers, tell our people around, the people around. So they say, tell someone to tell someone the truth. So at the end, they say bad news spread like fire, but good news sometimes it does not go as far as we can, as fast as we want. But you and me, it's our responsibility now, because we now know these things. During our using our social media, we can use our social media in a right way, because the problem that is going on is because those who who are popular, because they don't understand these things, they say something and all the followers they follow. You're using the same wrong information. So it's up to us, you and me and the rest of us, to tell someone, so that someone can then tell another someone, and then we can spread the word and we can spread the correct information. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Anati. Let me give hand over to the next presenter. So if you have any other questions, just write them down. Then at the end, we can then discuss after that. Over to you, Mr. Prince.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vambe. Good afternoon. Not sure if you guys can see me clearly. Okay. Can you see me clearly, Dr. Vambe?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I've been given a simple task. Okay, I've been disabled from sharing my screen. Could I please be enabled?
Okay, they are working on it. You can keep on talking. Okay, try again. Try now, Mr. Prince.
All right, thank you. Okay. So good afternoon once more. Thank you for having me today. It's a privilege to be able to stand or sit in front of you and present on the significance of 5G in improving human lives. So mine is going to be a very simple task. And seeing as we've already seen what Dr. Vambe was discussing, I thought maybe it could be relevant that I refresh people's minds if they'd forgotten some of the stuff. But basically 5G is the next step when it comes to mobile internet technology. It will offer us speeds faster than the current 4G LTE technology. And it's imperative to understand that it's not radically different from our current and past technology. It's just built on the previous generations of technology, and we're improving that. But I think the best way to come across this would be to discuss the electromagnetic spectrum itself. So if you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, it displays the electromagnetic radiation as a wave of photons that travel through space. You'll see there we've got AM radio waves, X-rays, infrared, and even UV light. The difference now when it comes to this non-ionizing and ionizing radiation, or if we talk about radio frequency waves or radio waves and gamma rays, you'll see that the major difference is the energy that they produce. And this energy will obviously come from the fact that the low frequency waves have got longer wavelengths, and the higher frequency have got shorter wavelengths. And this also goes to improve the amount of the range in which these technologies can reach. You'll find that radio waves can travel a longer distance than gamma rays or X-rays. And it's something that you have to consider when we're bringing in 5G. 5G comes in to be largely improved when compared to the previous radio waves that we're using for radio broadcasting. It's got its own band of frequency that has got higher energy frequency waves, but at the same time, it's nowhere close to ionizing radiation. So it's still characterized under the non-ionizing radiation. So it cannot cause cancer, it cannot cause coronavirus, it cannot lead us to those health hazards. So once you understand the fact that we have 5G coming in with more energy, but also having the side effect of not being able to travel longer distances like the radio frequency, it's more or less going to tell you already that there is really no need for us to be worrying about 5G causing cancer, causing COVID and the like. Let's talk about the benefits. What are the benefits of 5G? So I've noticed that people tend to understand benefits that they can see in front of them, in front of their eyes. They want stuff that they can comprehend and understand. So if I come and talk about your download speed increasing and saying, if you used to be able to download, let's say, a movie in 5 minutes, a full movie in 5 minutes, think about downloading a full movie in like 10 seconds. Because the download speeds of 5G would be super fast. They are nearly 20 gigabits per second. So downloading when you're using 5G networks is going to be insane. And I understand that people already will relate to that concept. But we should understand that 5G, it's as much as it's good to talk about these visual examples. When we talk about the visual examples of saying your download speed of a movie will increase, your download speed of series will increase, let's think about what that actually means. The greatest thing that 5G is bringing to us is the issue of reduced latency. It's the issue of increased speed. So when we say latency, we refer to the time it takes for devices to respond to each other over a network. So if we say we've got two devices and the two devices have to communicate, the amount of time it takes for device A to communicate with device B and get a response is what we refer to as latency. Now, when you think about networks, with 3G networks, the latency was about 100 milliseconds. And then with 4G, it was about 30 milliseconds. Now with 5G, we envisage about 1 millisecond latency. That's very quick, which is quicker than the visual, than the eye. The human being's visual stimulus can actually react. So it's quicker than a person's visual cues. So if the latency in 5G is 1 millisecond, that makes it already way better than the latency that is experienced within human vision. So now, what does this mean when it comes to technology and the benefits of 5G? So the virtually instantaneous communication network, which is 5G, will open up a new world of possibilities for anything that has got an established network connection. Think of augmented reality, think of self-driving cars, think of virtual reality. All this interactive technology depends on extremely low latency. So the moment you have latency that is at least 1 millisecond, because 5G is promising to go even beyond and produce latency that is less than 1 millisecond. Now, if you've got this extremely low latency, interactive technology is just going to go bonkers. You can imagine the latency you're dealing with right now. Like right now, we're communicating online, and I've had scenarios where we've had to disconnect our video because our bandwidth is just terrible. And the way that people view and see you is terrible. But now with 5G coming into play, we could have this video chat, and I could be playing a video, a movie online here right now and chatting to you, and at the same time downloading another video or a series by the side, and there'll be no effect on what you see. So 5G is promising to offer us extremely low latency. It's going to be able to cater for extremely large sets of data transfer. So rather than saying it can only transfer 200 megabits per second, it's now in the regions of transferring 100 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes download, but 100 gigabytes of transfer. Now that becomes insane, and it actually improves things like gaming. You think about people who like to play games, online gaming. Now you can actually participate in online gaming with someone abroad, someone in the UK, someone in the Caribbean, someone in remote areas if there are network towers there. The only issue we should consider with 5G is that it has got reduced coverage. So with the reduced coverage, that means there has to be more towers that are placed strategically for the network to actually thrive. But again, the good thing about 5G is that these towers are not really those huge towers that you are used to. It's the cell tower itself can be the size of a pizza box. So you can be talking about the size of a pizza box as your cell tower, and this has to be installed physically. It can be on a wall, it can be on a building, it can be on a cell tower, it can be on a connection or electricity pole, wherever. But the idea is to say there has to be more of them around, because we're saying with 5G networks, they've got little coverage, so, and they don't have great penetration. So when you think about networks in a home, or when you're in your home, you've got home Wi-Fi, and this Wi-Fi is good, but you'll find that sometimes when you move to a different room and everything, your Wi-Fi coverage becomes lower and lower. It's even worse with 5G. 5G coverage is poor when it comes to penetration. But if you have these cell towers set up appropriately, then 5G, the potential of 5G itself is insane. Think about the different types also of 5G. You've got the low band 5G, which is more or less similar to the 4G LTE coverage or networks that we're using right now. The only difference is that it's taking bands, radio frequency bands, or cellular radiation, cellular radio waves that have not been used yet, and it's banding them together to create the 5G network. Then you have got the higher band 5G, which is what I'm saying is insane, the ultra fast 5G with 1 millisecond latency. It's actually why they actually call it millimeter 5G network. Then there is the one in the middle, which is called the mid-band. Mid-band is the one that they're using most currently, because it has got better coverage compared to the ultra-fast, and it has got better speeds compared to the low band. So the mid-range is the one that we're using mostly currently. And the capabilities of these technologies are just crazy. So looking at the benefits, there's a lot that we can get from here. You've heard talk of Internet of Things already. And with the issue of Internet of Things, which is also sometimes referred to as massive machine-to-machine communication, we have so much at play that we could benefit from 5G. Let's take, for example, 5G in IoT. You're seeing now that with 5G, we're saying we'll have reduced latency, will have increased speeds. One of the issues that is normally forgotten when it comes to 5G, when people are talking about 5G, they normally leave out the issue of capacity. You've seen that when you're in a crowded network or in a crowded area, suppose at the university there, you're saying you've got over 10,000 students and all 10,000 students are trying to access something on that network, and then it gets slower. Now, with 5G, that amount of the capability that it has in terms of numbers of people is enlarged. It's not just, it goes beyond what we are used to. So we've been seeing that you say you have maybe 10 gigabits per second or 100 megabits per second bandwidth. But what we're saying now with 5G, it's promising to give you 20 gigahertz per second. So if you can give you 20 gigabits per second, the bandwidth is insane already. No matter how many people you have on that network, it's promising to be able to deliver. There are a lot of companies right now that are turning away customers and suppliers because they can't retain all the data because of the data exchange. It's just too much on their bandwidth. Now, with 5G, they could actually get all that data and be able to transform that data into actionable economic business formulating ideas. So if you think about 5G and IoT, currently we're told we've got about 25 billion devices that are connected to one another and they communicate without any human interaction in IoT. So with 5G coming on board, it has been estimated that by the year 2025, that number will triple and continue to grow, and making sure that we've got a connected globe. So the entire globe could be connected by the use of 5G. 5G has become the next step. If you think about the things you could not do 10 years back, and you can now do now, because you've got 4G LTE communication. Consider what's going to happen when you now have 5G and the capabilities of 5G. You should also realize also that 5G is not just improving by terms of speed and whatnot as 5G itself. There's also other technologies that are improving to complement 5G networks. So by the time we get to the year 2030, 5G would have taken the whole globe by storm, and we will have a lot of crazy things in circulation. So if you think of 5G and IoT, try and think of a scenario where you're driving, let's say, to the rural areas or to a remote area where your kids don't know what's around, or you're driving, just drive around. You don't know where you're going. Your kids have never been to the place. Rather than having someone asking you, what's that? What's that? What's that, Daddy? What's that, Mommy? You have a scenario now where you can see that you can enable, let's say, your passenger windows, and your child can literally read or get visual stimulation about the information they're seeing. So all the information about that particular area can be displayed on your window, can be displayed on the child's window, rather than you responding to what a monument is, to what that tree is called. They can see all that on their window. That's a potential that 5G can offer us, because with such low latency, your questions and the responses that you get can be insane. Think of smart parking lots, where you'll be able to know how many parking spaces are left vacant before you even get to a mall. Rather than having to go around looking for parking, you can actually book a spot where you're going to go park beforehand. So your car could actually communicate with the mall to say, I'm coming now, and arrange a spot for me. It arranges a spot for you. When you're getting in through the gate, you already have a ticket that tells you where you're going. Imagine smart cars that can actually give you traffic notifications. Imagine self-driving cars. Imagine weather updates that come, and you don't need to keep saying update in 15 minutes. It will update instantly, and you'll know exactly what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. So those are things that you can think about. when it comes to IoT. Think about 5G in healthcare. There's been so many cases whereby we have lost people in hospitals because things could not have been picked out or dealt with adequately. And in this depiction here, you can see a doctor being able to see the insides of a human being. So with augmented reality, remember now the trick here is the issue of latency. The latency is very low, so you can actually retrieve the insides of a person and get them displayed in an augmented reality dome. And then as you see that, you can be twisting it around and seeing what is actually contained or what's actually giving problems to that particular patient. A doctor can actually be in a position to conduct some surgery on a person looking at an augmented reality of that particular person and avoiding to cut some certain areas that he should not cut. And it helps. Imagine having a scenario where you can zoom out the size of the body so that he knows what he's cutting is exactly what needs to be cut without having to go deep into the person and not having adequate lighting in the theater. There are a lot of cases where people have been lost. There are a lot of cases where people have had the wrong organ removed. So now with augmented reality, you can actually improve healthcare to this extent. You can even think about healthcare professionals being trained. So I talk about this when it comes to education. Think about your professor. How many times do you go to class and you're being told about the heart? You're looking at the human anatomy. They're telling you how the heart is. And imagine there's doctoral students being taught how to undergo surgery. And they're being taught about something they cannot see. With augmented reality, they can actually look at a heart, at a live heart in front of them, and be actually in a position to conduct surgery. So imagine having so many practice sessions on an augmented heart. By the time you eventually get to deal with the human heart, you are a pro. You are really prepared for it. You can even imagine a scenario now where you can say in healthcare, suppose there's an accident along the road and the EMT paramedics have those people in the back of the ambulance, and due to low latency in 5G networks, the paramedics will now actually be in a position to say they can communicate with the surgeon, with the trauma expert that is based at the hospital, and be able to see the data that they are looking at in real time. They can actually see what is going on in the ambulance, and they communicate as if that particular doctor was in that particular ambulance. The same thing can be said in education. Now we're using online a lot because of coronavirus. Imagine a scenario where you say you have class, and in that particular class, you have a student talking to a teacher who's somewhere else than they are, but they are looking at an augmented reality version of that particular teacher. There's a lot of potential when it comes to 5G. 5G in firefighting. Look at this scenario here. You've got firefighters who are covered in smoke. There's little or no visibility at all, but they'll be trying to save human lives. In this scenario, imagine if their helmets had got virtual reality or augmented reality goggles set up there, where they can actually see through the smoke, because the systems in the house, the sensors and everything actually tells them the floor mapping and actually tells them where objects are, actually tells them where their other partners are. It becomes a reality when we have 5G networks with such crazy speeds and very low latency. And I can assure you, we've got a lot coming in. Self-driving cars, they're definitely coming in the future. Now with low latency, that means the communication between your steering and the communication between your steering, your wheels, and the objects in front of your car becomes so quick, such that even you as a human wouldn't have reacted quicker than the steering would react when it is self-driven. There's a lot. You could have 5G coming in logistics, where you've got these trucks being driven by a human, and then when the human gets tired, you put it on autopilot and it moves. So 5G has got the potential to get us to be one global community. All our devices, all of us connected through this 5G network. Thank you very much for your time. I hope it was clear and you guys learned a lot. Cheers. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Vambe.
Thank you so much. There's a lot. I think you've touched it all, and I want maybe after so that people they can digest, because you gave them a lot of food. I want them to digest. So when the next presenter is presenting, the participants, please take note of all the questions. Then we will have a question and answer segment, 5 minutes question and answer segment after the next presenter. Thank you, Mr. Prince, for doing that to us. And even from my side, I've also learned a lot because that's technology. Thank you so much. Our next presenter, Ms. S. Maposa, can you kindly, over to you.
Thank you, Doc. Please confirm, Dr. Vambe, if you are able to see my presentation.
Yes, I am able to see it.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sansiwa Maposa, and I'll be outlining the facts of how COVID-19 is spread and the science behind it. Introduction. COVID-19, which is commonly known as coronavirus, it is caused by a severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, which spreads between people in all different or several ways. This is a respiratory pathogen, and it causes respiratory problems that will be affecting your lungs. According to the epidemiologic data, the virus is spread by droplets or particles of fluids that come out of your mouth or nose when you talk, cough, sneeze, or sing, or when you are in contact with an infected person. These particles can be in different sizes. The larger particles are called droplets, and the small particles are called aerosols. The larger droplets tend to drop more quickly, and smaller aerosols can remain and suspended in the air for a little bit longer. To the immune response of our bodies. Our bodies produce antibodies that protect us against reinfection. But due to the ongoing studies, scientists are still investigating how strong these antibodies can protect our bodies, depending on the type of infection one has. We have two different types of infection: asymptomatic infection and asymptomatic infection. Asymptomatic infection, it is an infection whereby you won't have any symptoms of COVID-19. And then symptomatic infections, you will be able to show the symptoms of COVID-19. But however, due to the ongoing research, we do not know how long the antibodies produced by our bodies last and protect us. Two worlds apart, viral and signal, do they influence each other? As Dr. Vambe and Mr. Prince Ngube have indicated, how the signal spread is occurring. According to World Health Organizations, viruses cannot travel or spread on radio waves or mobile networks because COVID-19 is spreading in countries that do not have the 5G. Now, moving in telecommunication and radio communication, spread spectrum techniques are methods which a signal is used to generate a particular bandwidth. These methods could include electrical or electromagnetic spectrum. Moving to viral spread, the above structure shows the viral structure of COVID-19. Now, COVID-19 consists of RNA genome. The genome of coronavirus is a single-stranded positive RNA. If you can see the bluish part of the structure, these are called RNA. Now, in the structure, we have three different types of protein. We have membrane protein. I'm not sure if you're able to see, but membrane protein are the ones that are greenish in color. And then we have a spike protein, the outermost layer of the structure. And then you also have an envelope protein, the ones that cover our genome. Now, the spike protein, which are known as S proteins, are very important in the structure of the virus because these are the proteins that the virus use to attach and penetrate into the host cell. Now, when the virus enters the epithelial cell of the host, it undergoes a process called replication. Once this process starts, the virus now replicates a negative strand of RNA. Remember the original structure of a virus, it contained a positive RNA strand. Now, when RNA polymerase has occurred, the negative RNA is replicated. Because of mutations that occurs in our RNA or genome that COVID-19 has, we have different subgroups of COVID-19, which are alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. There is a gap between indigenous knowledge holders and scientists. Through generations, indigenous people have established responses and coping mechanisms grounded in traditional knowledge, customs, practices to different circumstances affecting their communities. This pandemic has proven and reinforced the need to present and promote indigenous people's rights as they should be included in the discussions of the country. Indigenous people are seeking their own solutions to the pandemic. They are taking actions using their indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge, practices such as involuntary isolation, sealing off their territories, as well as preventive measures. What is missing is the seriousness discussed of how sidelined indigenous knowledge is, while it can and should be used to address poverty, developmental and ecological challenges on our struggling healthcare system and other modern historical challenges that South Africa is faced with. COVID-19 pandemic has forced us into a precarious space where we have to rethink almost everything about our life, our work environment, how we use technology, how we socialize and interact with each other, how we're supposed to run school, and also how we're supposed to show love and care to our loved ones. Now, we have an opportunity to rethink on how to use these disruptions and those that will come in future to advance our cultural and traditional medical practices. So much of the Western or modern medicine is already based on cultural appropriation of African knowledge system, which we as Africans at times look down on. The appropriation of African ideas is a manipulation that involves stealing of African ideas, presenting them as Western, while convincing Africans that the same practice are inferior. This is an example of Onesimus, the African slave who cured smallpox during smallpox pandemic. Locally, herbalists are frustrated because they are being left out of the interventions to tackle the spread of coronavirus. In an interview with Sunday Independent, traditional healer Zama Ndebele expressed his disappointment at the government's lack of engagement with their traditional healers. We can learn a lot from Asian countries such as South Korea, which have done this successfully in social structures, but more noticeable in their healthcare system that surpassed even more of the Western healthcare system. Doing this can also potentially restore Black identity and create a sense of pride as we start to see our own practices represented in the mainstream and also being labeled as important scientific contributions instead of an alternative. This reclaiming can drive us to jeopardize our knowledge systems with our cultures in a way to uplift and advance humanity. With ecological degradation looming and unknown public health crisis lurking in our future, African knowledge can often encourage the potential to save our lives in various ways. To wrap up my presentation, African knowledge systems should be built in a way knowledge is produced, the way we run our healthcare system and how we build new technologies. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Vambe.
Thank you so much. we have a lot to digest, and we have a lot to, we've learned a lot. Let me maybe hand over to our guests, and so that they can maybe ask, maybe from the beginning, from the first presenter to the last presenter, any questions that you feel like you want to know. Please feel free to ask those questions, then so that we can then allow this maybe in five minutes to discuss or to answer those questions. Anyone with any question, please go ahead. Okay, one of my professors once said, if people don't ask, there are two things involved. Either they have understood well, or they are seeing stars. And if they are seeing stars, there are two things involved again. So I don't know, but please feel free to ask any question, so that we can help one another. Remember, we said misinformation is another pandemic that requires you and me to address, and especially the knowledge that we have gathered so far. We need to use that knowledge to educate our communities. We need to educate our fellow brothers, fellow sisters, so that it will, that information that you do have or that you have received will help one another, or will help others in our communities. So we want you to be the light in your communities, whereby you then give people the light, those who are in dark. So please feel free to ask any question to any of the presenters or to any of the panelists. Okay. I don't know now. I don't know now, but maybe in a nutshell, from Mr. Prince and Esma Posa, please maybe honor ladies, so they say. Esma Posa, can you kindly maybe give your final word, maybe a take-home word to our guests in terms of as far as this whole thing is concerned, so that we can then maybe allow people to know one or two things. Yes, we have another a hand up. Please, Mr. Nomga, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Doc. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right. No, I thought I should just come in and really thank you for a very clear presentation as the panel. I think the lack of questions from our side as your audience, maybe simply because the presentations were too clear and actually addressed a number of questions that probably we came here having. So please feel very happy about that. I can assure you that your presentations were very clear and very informative. They were very, coherent insofar as the two fields of study that were brought into the same topic. But maybe something that probably the panel may want maybe to emphasize on is regarding maybe the two ends of the electromagnetic spectrum. Of course, the low frequency and the high frequency end. Maybe to address the concerns that are out there in the public about the safety of 5G versus COVID-19. Maybe is to emphasize on how safe is non-ionizing radiation end, so that we can at least be at home, that we should not be concerned with the implementation of 5G because it falls in that particular end. Because also, as we may be following the developments insofar as telecommunication is concerned, already plans to roll out 5G have started, although they are targeting 2035. which is also in the, but it's also in the same band, or I mean end, but at a higher frequency band. I don't want to dwell much on that, but I just wanted maybe to poke this aspect of emphasizing on how safe is the non-ionizing radiation end, so that we can be at home with what is actually happening so far as 5G is concerned. I hope that is clear, Mr. Dr. Vambe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I think let me hand it over to any one of the panelists, Mr. Prince and also Maposa. Can you maybe also try to, if you can, answer or maybe make a clarity based on the points raised by Mr. Nomga?
Thank you, Mr. Nonga, for your question. Since it's not my field, but in your question, you wanted to know the emphasis of our safeness to use the 5G. In my knowledge, and also into looking at Mr. Prince's presentations, he emphasized how safe 5G is and how important and benefits we would get by using 5G. Mr. Prince, you can elaborate.
Thank you very much for the comment, Mr. Nomga. It's all right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, that's fine, sir.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Nomga, for the comment. Okay. So I think the best way to look at this is to say, according to the electromagnetic spectrum that we have displayed in front of us here, we've got a range of frequencies that fall under the non-ionizing radiation, and we've got a range that falls under the ionizing radiation. So the non-ionizing radiation basically is the safer radiation. The ionizing radiation is not too safe. And the reason why we say ionizing is not too safe is because ionizing radiation has got so much power that it can break down the chemical bonds within a human being's body, such that it could lead to the uncontrollable growth of muscle and tissues, and which is what we refer to as cancerous cells. So the fact that in ionizing, with exposure to ionizing radiation, you could develop or generate cancer, it's why ionizing radiation is more or less, it's dangerous. Now with non-ionizing radiation, there's not enough power to break down these chemical bonds in the body that would then force the body to just keep on multiplying and mutating or developing some muscles and cells that would lead to cancerous growth. So the non-ionizing radiation, cellular, there have been studies that have been conducted to try and figure out if using cell phones or using radio technology could lead to cancer. And none has really come out to prove that cellular radiation has got carcinogenic effects. So people can relax and know that definitely it does not cause cancer. Now, I'm not saying cellular radiation does not have any issues. The issues we can think of, all these issues, all these factors or characteristics that we're exposing ourselves to when it comes to 4G and LTE is basically more or less the same that we're exposing ourselves to with 5G. So it's not like it's going to come and create more or higher chances of cancerous growth. The one thing that has been found out by use of cellular radiation is that if you expose people to cellular radiation a lot, or a continuous stream of cellular radiation or non-ionizing radiation rather could lead to heating. So obviously you've seen infrared, you've seen microwaves, they heat up, but nothing has been found that can prove that radio waves are dangerous in any extent. And we should realize that that's the band where 5G resides. So 5G resides in non-ionizing radiation, and it is safe. I hope my response was comprehensive enough. Thank you, Dr. Vambe.
Okay, thank you. Maybe in a nutshell, like all what you've said, in short, to our listeners, we are saying we do have those two types. There's ionizing radiation and non-ionized radiation is seen on that diagram. But we are saying the reason why ionizing radiation is one of the dangerous one, because we are saying it does have so much energy. It can knock electrons out of atoms, which is a process known as ionization. And in most cases, you notice that ionization radiation can affect atoms in living things. And as a result, that's why it poses a health risk by damaging tissues and DNA in genes. So those ionized radiation comes from the machine that we normally use in most cases, like X-ray machines, cosmic particles from outer space, and radioactive elements. And those radioactive elements emit ionized radiation as their atom undergo radio decay. So if it is categorized under unionized radiation, like what we said, the X-ray machines, for example, those ones, yes, they need to be handled with care. But contrarily, you will notice that those non-ionizing radiation is enough energy to move atoms in a molecule around or cause them to vibrate, but not enough to remove electrons from atoms as compared to the latter. So examples of this kind of radiation are radio waves, visible lights, and microwaves. That's why you notice we have been listening to radios using these radio waves, visible light, and microwave. So if you just think of 5G, 5G falls under non-ionized radiation. So when you're listening to music, those radios and everything, it means, in other ways, that's where 5G falls. And we've been using these radio waves for over many years, and according to research from those years, there's no research that has also ever indicated that non-ionized radiation cause any of those problems. So I think it's a matter of now knowing that, as long as you know that it's a non-ionizing radiation part that falls where these 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G are categorized in, it means we are safe as far as the research is concerned, and as far as even those who classified between the non-ionization and the ionization radiation, those two categories is concerned. They said the ionization, obviously, most of us, we go for X-ray machines, do X-rays. Those ones, they say maybe in the long run, but it's in terms of the percentage, it's not that very significant, but they have highlighted that so that we know. But as far as non-ionizing radiation is concerned, there's no harm as far as research is concerned. So 5G also falls under that non-ionization radiation, and it means we are 110% as far as non-ionization radiation is concerned. I thank you. I don't know if we have answered you well, and if we didn't, you can also maybe get in touch so that we can then try to classify or clarify some of those other issues. Thank you. Okay, for the sake of time, we're supposed to finish at 11:45, but because of technology, we ended up not maybe starting at the right time. Maybe just a word I'll start by Ms. Esma Posa, just a word to take home. Then Mr. Prince, you give us our final word, so that at the end, what is the final word that you want to give our audience as far as today is this information or the knowledge that we've been sharing is concerned? Over to you, Maposa.
Thank you, Doc. Mine is very short. I'd like to first thank you for inviting me to be part of your panel. I just want us to be open-minded in this 5G technology and also try and learn new things about technology, because really, if we have technology, we can have anything that we want. We can improve our educational systems. We can improve anything with technology. So yeah, technology is very good for our systems. Even healthcare system, technology is very good for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Prince.
Thank you, Doc. As a parting word, well, I'll say we've seen tech companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, all growing and spreading their global reach using the power of 4G. Now we've heard about 5G and the potential it has. And I'd probably say, let's look forward. Can we please have some African ideas, some African innovators making use of this 5G? 5G networks have got the power to make us self-sustainable, have got the power to make us critical moguls in the business industry. Come up with your idea. There's no idea that is useless. Every idea has got some benefit. So try something, use 5G, and who knows, tomorrow you'll be the next billionaire, and we will say it all started from this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me your time. It was an absolute pleasure to be with you. Cheers. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. And it was quite, it was an eye-opener. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who managed to join us on this Science Week. We should not just do it on this Science Week, but each and every day should be a science, because science always inform us of the things that we don't know. And like what you said, Mr. Prince, one of the guy who inspire me most is also a South African, because others would then say it's not possible for an African to have those dreams or also to research. Elon Musk, I challenge you, each and every one of you, just go and check. Elon Musk is doing a lot of things. He's also spearheading some of these technologies that we're talking about. And even those self-driven cars going to the Mars, to the moon, is spearheading all those things using these technologies. So let us be open-minded. One of us, Elon Musk, is doing a wonderful job, and we should also challenge ourselves. We research, we see how he's doing, and maybe as concluding remarks, like what I said, I have an SRB, strong rural background, and in most cases, I always use the wisdom from my grandmothers and my grandfathers. They said, like what I said in the beginning, don't think inside the box, don't think outside the box. Rather, you should break the box and you start to think, because the very moment when you break the box and you start to think, you would have liberated yourself to do things that you used to think you are not able to do. Because as long as you're still looking inside the box, or when you're outside the box but referring to the box, it limits your mind, it limits your brain to think. So just break the box, and you know that you no longer look at that box. You now need to look for something new. And by so doing, you can then, it becomes easier to adopt and adapt the new technology. I thank you everyone. Let's keep on engaging. We will always open these platforms and email addresses so that we can then allow this osmosis and diffusion of ideas, as far as sharing technology, as far as coming up with a new pandemic, of telling people the truth rather than the pandemic that was going around of misinformation. I thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, sir.